Right, Forest fans, Max Newton here on Talk Forest TV. Hit that like, comment and subscribe. I'm giving you a quick preview of Nottingham Forest away at Aston Villa in what many people are writing off as a no chance to win game after the last sort of three matches, which has seen two dire performances and one good performance, but nonetheless three defeats. And I think a lot of people are sort of pointing at the way, particularly we lost the two games against Everton, and to a lesser extent the way we lost the game against Fulham, and using it to point at Sean Dyche and team and say it plays one-dimensional football, and once it's found out, and that's that. And I'm not quite sure that's the case. I think I think the game against Fulham, it was a tight game, and it looked like it was only going to be a tight game. I thought our organisation and the way we pressed, we were creating chances and creating opportunities, but we didn't take them. And then we gave away a silly penalty. We played well against Man City, and we certainly weren't one-dimensional against Man City. We were one-dimensional against Everton, and yeah, it's absolutely maddening that we kept banging in crosses to their giants of defenders. But that's one game. I'm not convinced that there's a pattern there at the moment. I think the problem is some of our players aren't turning up, or only turning up for big games. A lot of players played really, really well against Man City, and then were dire against Fulham and against Everton. Even if their stats suggest that they had really good games, players like Elliot Anderson needs to do more to actually be creative, to get shots off, to get into the box themselves. And to create opportunities. Morgan Gibbs-White needs to do more. Our wingers need to do more. But I think it'll be a very different game against Aston Villa, where I think actually crosses into the box are a good source of creating chances. Slightly concerned that Callum Mwendo has been sold. I don't think it's good enough for the Premier League, but it's a concern that we go into the game with Igor Jesus and then Tyrell Wonley as our only fit centre forwards. So that is a bit of a concern that there's no plan B. Although it might be one way you might play a false nine with Morgan Gibbs-White in that position or something like that. I really disappointed that we've not tried to bring Brennan Johnson back. He's scored a ton of goals for Forest, load of goals for Everton, proven Premier League player, proven Premier League goal scorer. Obviously plays a lot off the wing, but played up the middle for us a lot and scored a lot of goals for us up the middle in both Championship and the Premier League. He still loves Nottingham. He's still making donations to all sorts of Nottingham community groups. We've only cost 35 million and we'd have got cash back. Sell Callum Mwendo, Taiwo and somebody else and McAtee and spend the money on Brenham. But it's not going to happen. But anyway, on to the game. Obviously, Villa went on an 11-game winning run, but then came unstuck spectacularly against Arsenal in the last game. They've got some really, really quality players. Ollie Watkins looks like he's perhaps coming back into form. Morgan Rogers has been the flavour of the month, and he's looking really, really good. But I wonder if maybe Aston Villa are running out of legs a bit, and we can take advantage of that. And we can take advantage of the fact that nobody will be expecting us to do anything. And if you think about it, the games where we've looked particularly poor are games where actually we were probably the favourites for the game, or at least we were going into a game where the opposition were going to sit back, defend deep, and punish us, and that's what they did, and make themselves difficult to break down. Aston Villa won't play like that, and that gives us the opportunity to show our creative talents better. But I think certainly playing up the middle as well as off the wings. Looks like Ola Aina will be fit to start, which I think is great news. I like Savona, but he's clearly still learning. I don't like Zinchenko at all. I think he's terrible defending. So a back four of Milenkovic, Murillo, Nico and Ola Aina is great. I think I'd quite like to see Douglas Luiz and Elliot Anderson, but one of those two needs to be told to push on, and to be getting in the box and arriving in the box. And actually, maybe that's Douglas Luiz is that player. Hutchinson, Callum Hudson-Odoi, Morgan Gibbs-White, Igor Jesus. I think they're a bit of a sign at how not well our summer signings have gone, is that the side pretty much picks itself. There's still not a lot of options. So I expect, despite what Dyche says, I expect us to do a fair bit of business in January, especially with Calimundo going, leaving us really, really short up front. So yeah, we'll see what happens. So I'm going to go for a cheeky 1-0 victory for the Reds. Come on, you Reds.